I haven't had any abortions for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Couple. Oh my goodness. We're doing great. Yeah. Nice.
Welcome to Grimm Gals Spice Edition.
Get ready to get
Naughty. Dun, dun, dun. All right.
I love you with that.
It feels very fitting.
Yeah, it is. You look amazing.
And I take whatever comes with that, good and bad, but it feels very fitting. I know who I am. It's okay.
Well, we know who you are. Everyone knows who you are, but we're going to do an intro. Anyway, this is our guest today, Brittany Brave. Brittany, this is your camera over here.
This one?
This one. Staring at you. Oh, my God. The feral energy is alive and well.
Hi.
Brittany, tell people what you want them to know about you, sweetie.
I'm a comedian. I'm a radio personality. I do too much shit. I'm an Aquarius, and I'm a goddamn fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm only
I
now
love that.
embracing it in my life.
Just now, really?
Yeah.
I
I'm a
love
bitch,
it.
and I love it.
I love a good bitch, man.
Yeah.
I love
Yes.
It's the
Everyone
reason
loves
why
them.
I have a black cat, because I try to channel that cunt energy. I was too nice, and I really want to be nasty.
And have like boundaries and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm like kind of working on a bit about this. Like all the different slurs that we give to women are actually compliments. Like if you think about it, like a bitch generally means someone who like stands up for themselves. Like generally speaking, anytime a woman does something that anybody, mostly men, like don't like, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
For being straightforward. And then like a slut is like actually a compliment. Like it's like, oh, like you're sexually free and having fun and comfortable and everything. And you know, so I love it. I love being a bitch. It's my favorite thing. Yeah.
But that it did make me sad for a second when I was like, yeah, I want to be a bitch, and then you were like, to have boundaries, and it's like, why is being a bitch having boundaries? Like, boundaries are healthy, and then we associate, oh no, we want to protect our bodies, our mental health, and therefore now we're an asshole for that.
No, totally. And that's why I think like I try to put a positive spin on, that's why I do Bad Bitch Brunch. That's why I like try to put a positive spin on the word bitch, because I'm like, it's actually a wonderful thing. It's usually when a woman is exhibiting boundaries and self-respect and speaking her mind, it gets called a bitch, but I'm like, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Like every woman, and I know it's been said about me, and that's why like every woman that I've worked with in my career that I've maybe heard before working with her or while or after, like she's a bitch. She's a lot. She's whatever synonymous word you want to use. I always end up working with her and I'm like, no, she's not. She's just like really good at what she does and has a standard for herself and doesn't take shit. So I think being a bitch is good.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
I love that too. She's a lot.
All the time.
Why is that a bad thing? To be a lot? Are you jealous? Like
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like she's a lot. Like maybe you're a little. Like you know, like it's like, you know, maybe you can't handle it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd rather be a lot than be a little.
Yeah.
Like I could always be reined in and controlled, which is, you know, what this podcast is going to be about. Like I'm even working on that with myself, but I would rather have that than have a lack of personality or energy or opinions or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
You're not a people pleaser. You're not going to try to please everyone because what is that?
No.
Yeah.
I think you just rob yourself of your own life when you do that.
Yeah. Your own happiness, your own choices. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think your size has anything to do with your power? Like you're such a powerful woman who like exudes so much energy. And of course I look at you and everyone looks at you and you're like this little petite little cutie pie, which I'm sure like you fucking hate.
I can't
I know
stand it.
you can't stand, but it's it's what you are. It's adorable but I'm sure that's how you've been your whole life. Did you feel like you needed to like exude more energy to be like heard and like really seen?
That's a great question. It's a Napoleon complex. No, it is. No, you know what? I think maybe it's subconscious. I'll say that. Probably subconsciously, and I would actually attribute just being a woman more than necessarily my size. I think from an early age, I realized just how much girls were doubted and underplayed. And, you know, I have a story. When I was in kindergarten, a boy told me that I was stupid and was like picking on a couple of the other girls in my class and just telling them that they were weak and stupid. And he was just he's probably a school shooter now, you know, but it's, you know, that's the path they take. And, I was in kindergarten and I remember I was like, well, why don't I play your game and we arm wrestle each other? And he was like, you can never do that. And I was like, I can, and I'll beat you. And this was in kindergarten. And I beat him so hard, I actually sprained his wrist and he got sent home.
Oh, amazing.
And I got like written up and obviously in trouble, and which again is a whole whatever. And I was like screaming and crying at my teacher. And I was like, he's telling all the girls in the class that they're stupid and they're weak. And I showed him that he has to stop and proved him wrong. And like, I got sent home, and I'll never forget, like, in front of the principal and everybody, my mom and my dad were like, yeah, you cannot do that. Like, violence is not the answer, Brittany. We're so sorry. And the second the car pulled out of my elementary school, my mom and my dad were like, you fucking go. We're getting Dairy Queen. You don't take shit from anybody. Yeah, and I was like, yeah. Like, you know.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my mom was like, don't hurt people anymore, but also we're so fucking proud of you.
Yeah.
You know?
It gives me chills.
I love
it's
kindergarten
really good.
Brittany.
Yeah, kindergarten Brittany was the shit.
But also Karen and Tony, like great parents, great, like that is like having your back like that and knowing like, okay, there's a way we got to behave in the world, but we got you and you did the right thing. And you did. You were a hero. You were a hero to your classmates at such a young age. So it's just like, it's kind of that nature nurture. It's in you. Like you are that person who's going to stand up for what you believe is right. And you have a really good moral compass. Like that's you know, it's really in there and you can't teach that. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that story a lot, and I'm glad my mom and my dad remembered to tell me, because I was like, oh shit, I do remember that. Yeah, but to your point about like the size, like probably subconsciously my size makes me try to be bigger than what I am, but I also like don't see my height.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't see it. And it's so funny because the world constantly fucking reminds me of it. And I'm always like, oh, yeah, I'm shorter than the average person. But, like, I don't.
Yeah, it's just you.
It's just me. But I guess I see that with everybody. I don't see anybody's weight or skin color or gender either. Like, but it's always such a thing to people. Like, oh, you're so short. And I get it. Like, I see sometimes in photos, I'm like, oh, I am pretty short. Like, I'm the tiniest one by far.
Yeah.
But I just don't, in my head, I guess that is the Napoleon complex. Like in my head, I'm a
like
bulldog.
6 feet tall.
I'm 6 feet tall. Like I just don't see myself as short.
Yeah.
Until I'm like trying to reach for the top shelf to get sugar or something.
Even before I met you in real life, because I saw you on social media first. When I did meet you in real life, I was like, oh. Because you appear so big and you have a big personality, I guess. That's what.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm proud of it. Yeah. Yeah.
But you notice when a person's like 6'7", right?
Yeah.
Like you see like when someone's just like, it's kind of the same thing. It's like when you see someone so tall, it's hard to not say something. When you see someone your size, it's like, oh, it's like it's a different reaction, but at least your reaction instead of is wow, is more like, oh.
Yeah,
it's precious. It's precious.
Yeah. And I think it's I like it because it contributes to what I think my comedy is, which is like what people see is not what they get. And I love that because I think they see a tiny girl get on stage and they have all these preconceptions like she's going to talk about this or she's going to talk about that. Is she even old enough to do comedy or be in this bar right now at 8 o'clock or whatever? And then they learn about me and they're like, oh,
fierce
shit. Yeah.
So this episode is about revenge, and I gotta tell you, because of your fierceness, I feel like you might know a little something about revenge.
Oh man,
that laugh was great.
Thank you, thank you. You know, this is like probably a cop out of an answer, but we'll cover all of it, obviously. Yeah. But I'm like actually in a point in my life where I'm trying to not be the girl who seeks revenge anymore. Like I'm genuinely trying to like calm my inner demons. I feel like I'm sitting across from them right now.
Come back to the dark side, Brittany.
I'm getting soft. Oh no! But like I've been a very like reactive person my whole life, and I've definitely sought revenge. And once you get it, it's a very fleeting feeling. It's a very short-term gratification thing. And I think in the last like 2 years, I've tried to tame whatever makes me, because that was me. Like, you know, I've had an ex who beat the shit out of me for years, and I was like, I went through grieving that. I was like, I want him to fucking suffer, and how can I actively ruin his life after he did this to mine? And I think some of that kind of carried over with interpersonal relationships as well, just seeking this is so wrong, and I want to get back and get even and have this person, and that probably still is in me, but currently where I'm at is I'm trying to fix that side of me, I guess.
Yeah.
Still there, I'm sure, but you know, I'm trying to like
But I think
maybe harness that energy into something else.
Yeah.
Correct.
A different way of revenge. Maybe a different type of revenge.
Well, the true revenge is like it's so corny and cliche, and like you see it on throw pillows at Target and shit. But like the true revenge is like get fit, get healthy, get fucked, get paid, get better, get funny. Like it really is. It takes. But the catch is like it takes so much longer, and you wonder like you carry this grief and anger and bitterness over how people treated you or things that went down, and you kind of wonder if you're ever going to get yours. But when you do, it happens when you least expect it, and you're in such a better position than the person who fucked you over, and it really is the sweetest revenge if you can have the patience just to like wait for it. And also want that for yourself.
No, but that's my thought when you were like, I'm in a place where I'm not really seeking it anymore, and I'm like, do you even have time to seek it anymore? Like you're killing it so hard. Like I feel like when hard work and success is finally coming your way and paying off, like who has time to care about the haters, the bullshit, the people who wronged you? Like you could be like, okay, get your chair, get your ticket, watch the show, sweetie. I'm beyond. I'm gone.
I'm gone. Yeah, it's thank you, by the way. And like it's interesting. This week and this month in particular, like I don't know when this is going to come out, so I won't date it. But this episode's being recorded at a time where, like, this time last year, on a couple levels, professionally, interpersonally, dating wise, I got like fucked and whacked 10 times over by like the lessons I was refusing to learn about myself. Like I was reactive. It ruined a relationship with the theater, with a person, with a guy I was dating, and even though I felt like I know the real story and I know I think my feelings were justified and my side of the experience was justified. This time last year, I was getting bombarded by the universe, like, Brittany, change these things. Like, stop reacting this way, keeping this person around. I was going through it this time last year. Like, my mental health was, but it was funny because I knew when it was this like toxic, volatile energy, I was like, this is because this is like the universe trying to like, can you learn this fucking lesson already? And can you not react this way? And can you level up? And like, so March was like very busy, but very painful for me last year. And then I feel like I went through the fire with that. I took time off from drinking. I like traveled. I did whatever. And I feel like my career in life has like ramped up so much in the last year that now when I look back to like the low point of a year from this month, I'm like, oh my God, I don't think about that person anymore, that place anymore, if I saw these people, I would be like, to that point, like, I just think my life is in such a different place. So I almost wonder if that month was to kind of teach me, like, you're playing small, get out of this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think it's just like growth in any capacity is doing that. Is like you might feel justified in why you popped off or why you reacted in that way.
You might be justified. You might. Yeah.
However, when we're talking in a professional setting or even in just different relationships, that patience we were talking about earlier, and sometimes giving yourself the moment to like, okay, I feel this, but do I need to react right now?
Yes.
Can I wait? Can I collect myself? Can I communicate this in a way that maybe can be heard better?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, if on the topic of revenge, it's like spewing fire, and that's never a one-way spew. Like, you're always going to feel the heat and the flame, and you're always going to feel the backlash of it. But it also takes a while to like work that muscle, because if all you've ever known is reactivity, that's what you're going to fall on in those moments. And I just started after that month and like having like 3 different examples of like, and I feel, by the way, to be clear, like, and to anybody who's listening, and if you think it's about you, it is. They know. They know.
Spicy.
They know you too, so they know. I feel justified in like how I react. Like, I know how these people treated me. I know what the truth of a situation was, all of that. But it brought me back to my ex, because when I was in therapy after that relationship, he was a menace on a lot of different levels, and physically, emotionally. And he would cause me to pop off at bars, pop off on girls that were not the problem. He was, because he was trying to cheat, and I was literally catching him caught red-handed. And to the outside world, I looked fucking insane. Yeah. And it was like your inner child is screaming like, no, this person said this, did this. And my therapist at the time was like, your feelings are justified. You shouldn't be being treated this way. You're allowed to be angry. You should be angry, whatever. But she's like, the outside world doesn't know what's going on the inside. And you need to protect how you're perceived to an extent to the outside world, because this person in this situation, this venue, this whatever, doesn't get to compromise your entire perception and reputation. So they're like, you're protecting yourself when you don't react, essentially. Like, but it reminded me of my ex, because I knew the truth in like these 3 different situations. And where I failed myself was I let myself react, and now I have no credibility to the outside world.
Right.
Because they're like, you're being so reactive, you're being vengeful, you're being crazy, and you're right. You just don't look right, and you're definitely not going to get the the justification that you deserve by acting that way, essentially.
Well, you know what? I have to say that in a way, I know that you're trying to calm that beast that you're talking about, but in a way, I kind of like appreciate that you even had the balls to react. I kind of feel like I'm like the opposite of you. Like, my thing is that I've done my best to not react, because I'm almost like I don't like revenge, because like I don't like to like confront people or like cause negativity. But as you just said now, sometimes like it's justified that you take action. You know, so I'm on the whole different spectrum of you. And even though you're trying to calm it down, I kind of admire that you had the fire and like I guess the courage to kind of like speak up for yourself in the first place, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that's never going to change about me. Like, I have a mouth on me. If I think something's fucked up or wrong, I'm going to say it. If I'm upset enough, I've tried to be the girl that's like, bury it. It's fine. Just forget it. Just kumbaya. It's just not fucking me. No. It's not me. And I think it's what makes me a great comedian. And I think I'm like a truth teller before anything else. So I've also learned to accept that side of me, that it's like, Brittany, you know, if something's upsetting you enough, you will say it. Like, you could try to bury it. You could try to act like you're not going to bring it up. It's going to come flying out of you like projectile vomit. Like, it's just who you are. Yeah. But to your point, it's like, how do we embrace that side of ourselves? Sometimes presentation is everything. I think there's a way to say what you are feeling, but it's not going to be effective if you do it in the reactive, crazy way. Yeah. So I think I'm trying to find that balance, because I know that's always going to be me, but maybe I don't need to do it in such a like way, you know, frame it a little bit better. Yeah.
So I had a toxic ex, but that taught me a lot, because they were very manipulative and calculated in their approach. And I learned some positive things from it. So like when you were talking about your ex, like flirting or trying to cheat with these girls, and you popped off on them and then you look crazy.
Yeah.
What I learned in different ways was like, actually you befriend your enemy, you know? So like in those situations, I used to go up to girls and be like, oh, so I hear like blah, blah, blah. It's like, I feel like that's so hot. And then you find out how far in, and then they're like, what are you, crazy? I would never. Or or like whatever, but like always go into it in like a friendly approach, because then you have the power. You're not letting them get that power over you of like, oh, I can take your man. It's like, oh no, I knew all about this, sweetie. You think that you were going to get it? No, I'm joining you, you know?
Yeah.
And then even if you don't or whatever, but then you got the true information, you come off like a queen, because you're like, I know what's going on. No one's getting anything over me, you know? But that's not always easy to think in the moment. Like I had to learn from pretty much a narcissist, you know, to learn those lessons of how to just do that on the spot.
Well, that's what ends up happening when you date abusive people as well too. Like now everybody's like, you're just so jaded with everybody and you think the worst of everybody. And I'm like, you don't understand. I dated a literal demon. Like I literally, and like you said, I learned how he moved. So I see things and I see the intent in people, and I think I can kind of premeditate. Like whenever people are like, they didn't mean it, I'm like, they did. They did, even if they're not aware of it. Like, but yeah, like to your point, like it's like, I don't really fear anybody's opinion of me anymore either. Like, you know, I feel like that's something we grow up with. Like someone may have talked shit about me, or someone may have, I don't think these people like me because this is gonna, it's like, well, if you know that you moved with honesty, and like now I just know if I think you may have tried to tarnish my name in a social setting, now I know when I'm showing up in that setting to be even more aware of how I present myself, because like I'm the best source of truth in that situation, right? So it's like you could drag my name through the mud as much as you want, but if I can carry myself with class and I already know what's up, they're going to be like, oh, she was fine. I didn't have any issues with her. And I'm like, yeah. Exactly. You know what I mean? But that's a big thing. Like, it's like we can let other people affect our character, I think, sometimes. Or like you can be a kind person, and if someone treats you unkind, it can make you unkind, but that's not fair to you to do that, you know? So, yeah.
I think it's the knowing of yourself that like everyone really needs to get to the root of it, because there's like what we've been told about ourselves from the outside world, our parents and whatever, and sometimes you believe it, and sometimes that actually sounds great. You're like, wow, you think I'm that way? I'm going to be that way. Yeah. But you need to like always check in and reevaluate, because we do change. Maybe not drastically, but we change with time.
And we should.
Yeah. Hopefully you
Hopefully.
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like figuring that out of who you are, what you stand for, I feel like everyone really needs to get to that, because if you know that, if someone misunderstands you, miscommunicates, judges you, as long as you know your opinion on that, you can always be like, oh no, you mistook me, like that's not what I think, and you can validate back up, you can stand up for yourself basically. Yeah, but if you don't know,
you're lost.
Anyone can put labels on you, and then you're stuck and like buried in these labels that sometimes you start to believe. You see those people walking around and you could tell that was put on them, and they are like almost stuck in this place of this judgment.
Yeah, it's and it's all projection too, because if that's how they feel about themselves and they're that lost about themselves, they will subconsciously put that onto you as well. Well, it's like if you're like a car and you go to the mechanic and you wait for the mechanic to tell you everything that's wrong, and you have no idea what's under the hood yourself, you're probably going to get fucked and upcharged and everything. Sure. But if you know your way around your inner workings and your inner parts, it's the same thing like going to the doctor. Like I will stare my doctor in the face and be like, you need to run that again. I know my body, or I need a second opinion, because you spend enough time with yourself. And that's where falling flat on your face or seeking revenge and it doesn't feel good after or whatever it is comes in handy, because those experiences just build out the manual for who you are. Like you need all of that in order to learn what you're capable of, what you're actually about, what your intents are, all of that stuff. Yeah.
I love that you brought up cars. I almost started pouring sweat. I'm like, I don't know anything about cars.
I don't either. I don't either. But like, it's a good metaphor. Yeah, I know a lot about this little buggy right over here. But
but damn, the mechanic conversation. I always try to get on the good side of my mechanic, and I try to commit to one mechanic. Yeah. Because then I feel like I build a relationship with them, and I get to know everyone there. So it's like, don't fuck me over, please. Like, I'm coming back to you for a reason, you know. So, but why do we all experience that with the mechanics?
Well, because I think they do kind of upcharge when they can. It's an industry where they can do that because you don't know the prices. You don't know what's wrong.
Don't know.
Yeah, but even mechanics don't even know, because when you ask them why, they're like, oh, well, you know, this could be wrong and that could be wrong. And
exactly.
It's like, what the fuck? Aren't you the expert here? Like, it's insane.
Exactly, but it's like you're the expert of yourself and all of your assets and whatnot. Yeah. So it's like, but I mean, to like mirror that, like with these like abusive relationships, like I look back at who I was when I entered that relationship, and like, he masked as a mechanic when really he was just about to break my car down. And like, he could probably smell from a mile away that this girl who was almost 20 years his junior didn't know what was under the hood. Like at all.
He's that older than you?
Oh yeah, years? He was like, I was in my mid 20s, early 20s, and he was like 40. So he was not 20, maybe like, 15, 16 years, something like that. But I can totally see now. I was just talking to my mom about this last night, and dating and finding people, and that part of my life is so dead right now, probably for the best, but whatever.
For the best.
Who knows? Yeah, I'm horny, and I'm so horny.
Are you looking for love, or like horny, or like you want a family? I'm just curious.
I do want a family down the line. Yeah. I mean, I'm not ready for one right now at all, but I was talking to my mom last night, and I was kind of vulnerable about it. Like, I'm like, I need to start dedicating more time to dating, because I'm 33. I started comedy later in my 20s, early 30s. It's like a perfect storm of like your biological clock starts ticking, and you start a career that robs you of any kind of stability or free time that you have to like give your all to. But that I want to dedicate a little bit more time to that, because the reality is in 10 years, less than 10, I would want to be married and have kids, but I'm not putting anything towards that right now. And my mom was like, like being a mom, she's like, well, hoping you don't go down that path or meet somebody like and I was like, Mom, like that will never happen again. It just won't. Yeah. Like it won't. Like you
learn that lesson.
And I've been single for so long, single since then, and know myself too. And I'm also just a completely different person. Like when he met me, I was young, I was inexperienced. I hadn't really had any life trauma yet. I hated my job. I was in New York, and an idiot and what, and like now I'm like, I live for something completely different, you know? So yeah.
No, you're different.
Yes.
In so many ways you're different. It's, of course your mom's going to worry about you, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have a friend that's perpetually single and she'll go on the dating apps, get off the dating apps. And she just like says, I just want someone who already knows me. Like she doesn't want to like do the work to let somebody in, let them know her, like whatever. And it's like
that's me a little bit, but
and like there's so much work, and it's like you have to. It is like you gotta like you're meeting people all the time, but it's like, are you meeting them in a quality way where they can get to know you, can get to know them, and are you giving yourself the space and time to do that? And you have to decide what's more important. However, we do get so scared about our biological clock and all these things, but I think that the closer you are to living the life you want and the happier you are, the more you are going to attract the right person who's also attracted to that life. And one thing that I love seeing is like a lot of the female comics that are blowing up now and having huge careers now are in like their mid to late 30s, early 40s, and almost all of them are kind of having babies after they got their specials and after their things. And it's because they focused on their career and their time now, and then when they were getting closer to their success, when they could, that's when they found their partners. That's when they are having their children. And it's not impossible that like that could happen for any of us who want it.
Right.
But I do think you can't just expect that that's just going to happen too. You do have to make time and space for it.
100%. Like it's, you know, I dedicate zero time to that part of my life. And it feels like a nuisance, like to what your friend said, like the whole like sifting through on a dating app. And I just like I don't want to do it. And I accept that it's also unrealistic to say that like someone's just going to show up and be like, hi, Brittany, I know you and I'm here. and I'm going to be like, I feel so seen. Like, you know, like, but I also do think to that point that when I do meet that person, I do think it will feel that way. It'll just be the right time. And I do think it'll click in that way. I don't want to, if I dedicated a fraction of the time and energy that I do to my career, to my dating life, I might as well be in something now, you know, but I don't desire it the way for the longest time too. And I feel like a lot of women get caught in this. I just was stuck in this narrative that I wanted a boyfriend and I hated being single and I'm single and I want a relationship. I want something serious. I want someone. And then like,
when you get it, it's not what you think it is at all.
Sometimes
sometimes it is, but it's like I feel like being single is amazing. Like girls that constantly need someone to be with, it's like, okay, that's fine, but like it's so much fun being by yourself, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and and everyone has a different attachment style, but I will say being single for this long on my own and not really having anybody significant kind of come in and whatever, I would hope that when somebody of significance does show up, I'm going to know immediately because it's going to feel really different than everything else.
That's true.
And I know that I just did almost 6 years more or less on my own. Yeah. So now I can kind of confidently enter a romantic union and be like, I just was on my own happily for 6 years. Yeah. Healing, traveling, working, you know, whatever. And but like, so now it's not a person just kind of filling a void. Now it's going to be like supplemental, hopefully. But I was caught in that narrative that I'm single. Like even in my comedy, I was caught in it. And then like, I don't know, one day I like snapped out of it. I feel like the movie Moonstruck, snap out of it. Like I was like, and I just was like, do I really want a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure. If there was somebody significant who dicked me down right and saw me and was fun and healthy, like I would welcome him into my life. But I was like, you preach that you want this so much, like as if you're operating from a deficit. And I'm like, I don't really feel that. I don't feel sad not having a boyfriend. So I had to actively kind of be like, you're fine. Why do you keep like singing the woes of something you don't really need? You know, I don't know.
The community. I think that's the world just pressing onto us.
It is
obligations that we don't even need or want.
It is. You're constantly, especially as a woman, put in that role. If you're in your early 30s and you're single or you're not married with kids or both or either, it's the hot mess. The can't get a date. The single. Fuck off. Like it's like I'm fine this way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're right. Like it is subconscious and. It's a lot of work to pull yourself out and be like, I don't really want a boyfriend. Yeah. Like, sure, I'm open to someone dope coming in, but like, why do I keep crying over milk that's not spilled?
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But, yeah.
My dad, because he's getting close to the end of his life, he he used to be up my ass about when you're getting married, when you have kids, but I feel like he's realizing that's not happening. So now he's getting...
So are my parents, yeah.
So now he's getting on board and sending me articles of like proving, he's like, well, actually, single women live longer than married women. And he's like, because they don't have to take care of anyone else and they can focus on their own needs and whatever. And he's like, actually, this might be a good thing. He's like, also the economy, not great for kids right now. Like, he's flipping this switch.
The rhetoric.
Yeah. And I'm like, finally, you see my point, like you're on my side.
Yeah, my mom sends me articles like, did you know that more homeowners are women than ever before? And I'm like, okay, I got. Or she sends me like the health benefits of divorce. I'm like, I've never been married, but okay. Yeah.
But I feel like we're in a generation where a lot of people don't want kids right now. I feel this is like a generation where a lot of women are choosing like to not have kids in general.
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I want kids, and like it is a very selfish thing because I see both sides of the argument. Like I look at this fucked up world and I'm like, God, do I really want to carry the weight of bringing life into like a broken economy in a world that's melting and full of terrorism and hate? And like, do I really want to do that?
Yeah. But it's never going to change. Like the world has been like that forever, I feel.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, and like you never know. Like you also could procreate and give birth to the next greatest humanitarian or politician or
that's true.
Also,
Jesus.
Great.
Just kidding.
Comedian. Yeah.
We need people. Because otherwise we go extinct. So we need people
on Earth right now.
And I do think that there is too many. I agree with that.
The list is full.
There is. We could lose some for sure. But the crazy thing that I'm noticing in a lot of my friends groups is people are having twins naturally. And I don't know where we stand spiritually, but to me, I'm like, oh, it's because other people are not having kids. They're like, we're doubling down on these uteruses for the ones that are willing to have kids. Because I'm just noticing so many twins keep coming.
That's going to be me. Because I get pregnant really easily.
Yeah.
So I would bet like my first time natural trying to get pregnant with my husband or whoever the fuck's around at that time at this rate, I would bet it's going to be like Miss Brave. There's triplets in this tiny easy bake oven. And I'm going to be like, holy shit.
Tiny easy bake oven.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, maybe that makes sense.
What about adoption, guys? Would you ever consider adoption? Maybe if you guys are a little too old to have kids?
That's the only way I would have kids. Adoption. But that's just, because I feel like, I mean, it's not the only way, but I always said if I were to have kids, it would probably be adoption because there are enough people here and I don't feel particularly like it needs to be of my blood to love it. And I also feel like I probably would have kids older. And I probably would want a kind of an older kid or like even just like fostering. Like I would like to pass on some knowledge and like be there for someone in that way of a parental role. I try to do with my nieces and nephews and stuff, but there is difference when you actually commit to a life. So I do feel like if I ever do, it probably will be that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what about you? Would you ever adopt?
I would.
Yeah.
I want like a gaggle of kids.
Yeah.
I do because I'm an only child.
Right,
so I would want to experience what it's like to have siblings, like not vicariously, but like through my kids. So I would definitely maybe consider like procreating and making some of my own, but then adopting or fostering.
Yeah.
For sure.
Fostering
Especially
sounds fun.
Like having them experience a healthy household. But to your point, I don't want. To me, these are both full-time jobs. Being a parent is a full-time job. Being a spouse is a full-time job. And being a successful comedian is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that has the most flexible time limit, even though it's not really, but it is being a comedian, right? But so it's like, I do feel like as if it's like, I would want to feel as actualized as I can be as a human being. Like I did everything I could. My potential was realized. Things I've dreamt of were realized, at least to some extent, before I started a family, because the comedian thing is very self-centered. It's my dreams and my career and my livelihood and legacy and all these different things. But being a mom and a wife is now people depend on me emotionally, financially, everything. So it's like I would hate to enter that knowing I had any kind of there's something else I want to do or something else I want to explore, because I feel like I personally don't cancel me, parents, but like just my focus would be split. And when I enter motherhood, I don't want that to be the case.
That's true.
I want to be completely like, I feel like I've accomplished so much. I'm so happy with where I'm at on every level. And now I can give everything to another life, another person.
That's like the best case scenario to have kids.
It's the best case scenario.
I feel like there's
for me.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of, there's two ways of looking at it. I think that we all connect and relate because that's the path we've chose. Is like, I always said, if I'm going to have kids, it's because I already did everything I wanted to do basically. And now I have time for them.
Yeah.
But I do see some people that had kids very, very young and their whole life then became focused on the kids, focused on the career, focused on the house, focused on getting all these things. But then all of a sudden now they're 40s, their kids are out of their house and they have all this time, all this money, all this thing because they just built their life in focusing on that now they're living their life, their best life later in life. And I feel like which is better, it's no one's to say.
No one's
it's
to say.
just like, did you want to live fully, youthfully with all the energy,
right? And
then have kids when maybe you're a little less tired, but also you're set up in a different way and more focused, you know? Or, hold on.
Screensaver.
Fell asleep. Or would you want to, you know, vice versa, like build this whole thing, like have kids when you're young, build your business when you're young, all this stuff. When
it
you're
just
focused.
depends. Yeah, exactly. And it's and I think that's another narrative that women get caught into about career and kids, and you clearly can't have both, or you have to choose one or another. And it's like, you know, I don't know why it's so polarizing for women. Like it's like how you said, like you could just do the mom thing first, and that's the way your cards laid out. And now that part of you is actualized, you have the time and motivation to actualize your career, you know? I'm interested, like my path is interesting because I spent years in a career I hated that I didn't realize I hated. Like I was in my 20s and I thought it was too impractical to pursue acting and comedy. And my parents, they take fault of it. Like they kind of put that idea into my head too. Like you'll starve in New York, you could do it on the side, but no, get a real job or whatever. So I started what I meant to do later. Not really. I know people over 40 are probably laughing when they hear this, or 50 or whatever. But like I didn't really start or feel like I became who I was until late 20s, early 30s when I started doing stand-up and shut down my PR business and whatever. So now I feel like it's like go time for me. Yeah. Like big, you know what I mean? Like I'm 33, but I'm only 3 or 4 years into like the thing I really want to do in this brand new insane career. So for me, I also just like, I just don't feel ready to be like a parent. Like I have a cat, and when she meows in the middle of the night, I'm like, fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I like get up and I'm like, I like feed her or whatever. Like, but that's how I know. Like, it's just not the time for you yet. Like to do that. And like, I take great care of her. She's fine. Don't call PETA. Like, she's great. You know what I mean? But like, that's how I know. I still like that I could just like take a day off like I did today and just like fuck off by the pool and work out and come to a podcast with my friends. And like the reality just is, if you're going to be a good parent, you're not going to have that flexibility. So it's just not the time for that.
Would you marry a stay-at-home dad?
I get asked this a lot. I don't really know how I feel about that. Maybe.
A stay-at-home dad?
You get that asked a lot.
I do.
That's hilarious. I
do.
like never asked anyone that.
I would want to stay at home.
I get asked that. Really?
I would. I mean, if he has his own business,
that's why
if he got a business and doing his own little thing on the side, and you know, he let me do my thing.
Stay-at-home dad means you're making the money, he's doing the kids.
Oh, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind. I guess I don't know.
I don't care. I guess I wouldn't mind as long as he contributes.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Like that is contribute. Like I meant financially contributing, obviously, but I mean, I don't know. I do get asked that a lot, probably because I give like breadwinner masculine energy vibes, and they're like, "What if you meet a guy that's like, I'll hang back and take care of the kids?" Well, I think I'd be fine with it, but I think in an ideal world, it wouldn't be that black and white. Yeah. You know, like I would want to be around and also want him to have his own business or things he wants to do. Yeah. I don't know. I've always looked at that like I really truly want an equal as a partner. Yeah. Like I really do. And like growing up, my mom was always like, he's got to like you more, or you got to find somebody or get a man with a good job. And I'm like, I've just never looked at like the husband serving the wife or the wife serving the husband. Like I've never seen it that way. Like I want a guy who like travels as much as I do and is just as ambitious and needs his freedom as much as I do. And when he is home with the kids, he's a fucking an amazing dad, but he can also go out and do what he would. Like, I would ideally like for those roles to like shape shift, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that's when it's healthiest.
I think everyone, at the minimum, they need their own drive and their own purpose, you know, and whether that's financially bringing in money to the household or not, like you have to keep some form of individualism in your relationship. And I think that's the fear of a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, is the idea is they get lost in their kids and then they start feeling resentment.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And then maybe I'm like, I'm out here making millions of dollars and you're home with the kids. Well, I'm home with the kids while you're out doing whatever. Like everybody's got to feel, but I know it's like it's just so like dating's just so different now. Like money doesn't matter to me, but his ambition does. Yeah. I don't really care what he does for a living. I just care that he cares about it. Yeah. Stuff like that, you know? Yeah. And I personally know the most appealing thing to a stay-at-home dad is like, I know I've leaned into my like masculine energy to the point where I forget to tap into the feminine sometimes. And I think that a stay-at-home dad would lean into the feminine probably, or the caretaker, or so that might make sense for me to balance me out. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think everybody needs equal parts of both. Yeah. But,
I'm going slightly shifting topics.
Okay.
So I've met quite a few people in my life that just kind of, I don't want to say abandon their family, but they just say, nope, not for me. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. You crossed my boundary. You disrespected me. We don't vibe. Like, whatever reason, but they just check out and they're just like, I don't talk to my family anymore.
Yeah.
And I know you're somebody who's very close with your family.
Yeah.
But you're also somebody who's creating boundaries in different ways. Like, how do you feel about that idea of like, is family no matter what, and you stand by them no matter, or would you actually, let's say, with a family member, maybe it's not your kids or your husband, maybe it's a cousin, uncle, what, would you just cut them off, or would you fight for them just because of family?
I like family is family, and I'm able to say that blood is a bit thicker than water because I do have a very good family, and I know that's not the case for everybody. I will say that I'm not afraid to cut somebody off just because they're family, or I'm not afraid to admit that I'm not friends with my family members, or you know what I mean, or you don't have to like all of your family. I don't even think you have to really love everybody in your family. You know, it also depends on where family falls in your. I'm Italian, so I was almost near brainwashed my entire life that blood is thicker than water, and family is family, and oh my God, that's your family, and oh my God, that's your mother, that's your father, whatever. And to the point where I put my family on a pedestal and kind of glorified them. And they're wonderful. I love them. Like I said, I have a very healthy, great family. But I think then you reach a point when you start to become your own individual, and then you look at your family, and it can be kind of jarring to be like, I disagree with them about some stuff, or I don't like that they do this. I don't like their political beliefs. I don't vibe with this person. And your initial reaction is guilt. But I think then you realize, like, I don't need to have a relationship beyond just like coexisting with them in a family context. I will say this, like, I don't feel fearful of cutting off family, because if any family member would do something wrong to me to warrant me cutting them off, then they're already breaking the definition of family, whether blood's involved or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I can't believe you're Italian.
Who made?
I was
I'm listening to you, but I'm also watching
it's like an interpretive dance happening. Yeah.
So subconsciously, I was looking at you, and she was like, "Is she Italian?" And you confirmed it for me. I don't know why I felt the Italian vibes.
It's the most obvious culture. Like it's just loud and
that is true. Like, are you 100% Italian? Or?
I'm very Italian. My mom and my dad were born in the U.S., but my grandparents were like Sicily and Italy and various parts of Italy, and so super, super Italian. But I'm not afraid to cut off.
I don't think you would, but it's like you said, you have a good family and you're very close with them.
Right.
It's like hard for me because it's like I have not such a great family. Like I love them very much and I'm close to them, but like, and I've even gone through periods where I didn't talk to them, but I could never fully cut them off because to me in my head, it's still family's family. But then I meet some people and they're like, just don't talk to their family. And I hear the reasons why. It's super validated. I'm like, totally should not talk to them. But I'm like, even then, I'm like, I feel like I would still talk
I'm always going to have a soft spot. Yeah. Like even
Yeah.
no matter what happens, like if down the line anybody in my family needed me or something, like it would probably be very, very hard to fully cut them off. But I also think chosen family is a very real thing, and friends who are like family are very real things, and fans who become like family are that's a very real thing. So I think once you've experienced chosen family, it is a little bit easier to reconcile distance with an actual family member, because you're like, if you would treat me like this, it doesn't matter whether blood is present or not. You're not there really isn't love there, kind of thing. And I mean, I'm the black sheep in my family. Like I am. Like I'm an only child. I'm the only one who's a performer. I'm the wild child. I'm the one who's had 2 abortions. I'm the one who dated an abusive maniac. I'm the one who travels, is all over the place, has all the like. So I think over the last couple of years, there's been like acceptance on both sides with my parents, family, and me. Like I think I accepted the way I saw them isn't as angelic. It wasn't fair to them either. I think just growing up, they were put on this like pedestal, and then you become an adult and you're like, oh, nobody's perfect, and people fuck up, and you can disagree with your XYZ family members' opinions and things like that. So I think the playing field just kind of got leveled. And to that point, I think my family, including my parents, saw me like that. Like goody two-shoes, class president, valedictorians, going to believe everything we believe and fit in this box. And then I like ravaged through my 20s like a hurricane and had abortions and fucked up and got fired and got evicted and moved in and out of New York and and I think they kind of were like, oh, she's a human being and it's okay. You know? So I feel like everybody just kind of leveled with each other.
Is both of your families live here in the United States? Like you guys are around your family often? Like can you reach them? Do they live like nearby?
Oh yeah, like they're in Jersey. I mean, I have family in Italy. I just don't really talk to them that often, but my mom and my dad are in Miami. So.
That's crazy, because almost my entire life, all my family has lived in South America. Like hardly anyone lives. Actually, no one lives here. I think I have an aunt that I never talked to hardly. Lives in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she hates when I talk about family.
She's
like, I don't have them accessible. Stop it talking about them.
I know. I really can't relate, because like I've always was okay with it, but now that I'm older, it just kind of sucks. That like there is no family reunions
for sure.
There is no uncle, aunt. There is nobody that comes to any events. Like my mom moved back to South America, and now I have literally nobody living here. That's my family, really. Except for some friends, maybe like 2. You know what I mean? Like real true ones. And it's just like when I hear all this, family this, I'm like, I don't even really know them that well. We have a WhatsApp chat that I'm like a little bit in there.
Yeah, it's easy to get drowned in a WhatsApp chat though.
But it's always grass. It's like grass is greener. It's like family's great, and it's very like, it's beautiful when there's loyalty and support and all this stuff. And like if you have it, great, do it. Then there's also like something so beautiful about like being on your own, the freedom of like not someone relying on you, not like, I love my family, I'm very fortunate and happy that they're still here, but in some ways they're a burden in a lot of my life. And so, you know, but I'm happy for them, but there's always like 2 sides of the coin, and like of course you're gonna miss and wish that they were closer or whatever, but maybe if they were here you'd be like, God, they're really getting on my nerves, you know?
And it's a catch-22. And it's like, I also think it goes back to the fact that it's like the label of the relationship doesn't matter, because you could have people that you share blood with but you feel like strangers, and you're like, this is common, a lot of people feel this way, that you're like, how are we family? Like we don't talk the same, don't live the same. I feel like when we have a conversation, I'm speaking a different language. Like there's no eye to eye. And then you can have somebody that you meet at work that you click with and they immediately feel like family. So I think it's like the title doesn't matter. I think it's like more so just taking a step back from your life and being like, I'm so fortunate to have people who see me, love me, who I could call, whether that person is an aunt or a mom or a friend or a coworker. I also think like we just put too much pressure on family. We just put too much emphasis on family and family and family and the same thing.
Creating a family.
Creating a family. How does your family show up for you? Whatever. Where it's like just, you know, it's essentially like, you know, if you could still, I think ultimately too, if you accept yourself, like, I think that's what happened with my journey with my parents and my family is I really, truly accepted myself. So now I'm able to show up in front of my parents and my family as like, well, this is like me.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling to feel accepted and like, and
Yeah.
for you to accept, for everyone to just, this is me, this is what I did, what's up?
Yeah.
Everyone's like fine.
There was, you know, they won't listen because, you know, whatever. But like, you know, my cousin and his wife, there was an accidental pregnancy at some point, and I remember it was during a chaotic time. And I say this story because I think it was the first time I realized I was gonna be myself no matter what, and I wasn't fearful of my family's approval of me or my choices. I was like, I'm me. And a lot of you haven't really been present. I'm not resentful about it, but I'm like, a lot of you haven't been present for a lot of the formative moments in my life. And while I have no ill will towards some of my family members, I'm like, you were not there for the process that is now led you to Brittany Brave. Like, so you love me, but you really don't know me.
Yeah.
And you're either going to learn about me and love me even more, or you're going to learn about me and you're going to think differently. But either way, this is me. And I'm showing up at the table, you know, like, it's like, you have to be the control variable with people in your life. You have to be like, okay, you can come and go and you can hate me, love me, but I'm gonna I'm the placebo, right? And so there was an accidental pregnancy. They were moving, jobs were changing, things were, you know, they were in between. And I remembered my cousin's wife was just so devastated. Like, they were in hysterics over like this accident, like that she's pregnant and it was a mistake and they weren't ready. And I saw the stress and the pain, and you know, I'm obviously very like pro-choice for a myriad of reasons. And I just like openly in front of my family was just like, she has options. And you could hear like a pin drop.
Oh my God.
And I was like, but she does. Like, she doesn't need to be in the fetal position, like hysterically. This is not an energy to bring a new life into the world.
Right.
Like, mommy and daddy had a nervous breakdown when they learned you were on your way. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, but I would have never years ago, and I just unabashedly was like, I was like, she has options. And everybody looked at me like I was the devil and I had 3 heads. And I was like, but she does. And like, if they are financially, mentally, psychologically, emotionally not ready, or if at the end of the day they just don't fucking want another kid right now, that's,
and why have it?
Why have it? Like, that's not. And I just got looked at and I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I know everybody in this room like agrees with me. You're just afraid to. And again, so be it if they're not comfortable doing something like that. But it was one of those moments when I realized I was like, you know, and even my mom was like, Brittany, and I'm like, no, mom, like, this is my contribution to the conversation.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And this is who I am. And if we're going to all sit here and talk about it, like, this is what my perspective is. They can think whatever they want. I'll tell them, you know.
No, we got to close out this episode, but I do like the idea of closing it up with, if you show up as yourself, like who you are in your truth, anyone who's also doing that for themselves
will see you immediately
and accept you.
Yes.
And anyone who's not doing that, they will probably push back and they'll want you to be the version of them that they want
or
you
try
to
to
be,
bring you down
or anything like that. But anyone who's doing that for themselves is going to support it, celebrate you, be excited for you. And all we could do in this life is figure out who we are, back to the beginning, who we are, what we stand for, and stand up for ourselves at the same time.
And it's like,
and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh, totally. And I think the biggest thing, and this is what I try to be to like anybody who comes to my comedy shows, to my friends, to my family, like, I always try to be a person who holds space for you no matter what you're going through or who you are, because that's been the greatest growth curve for me over the last 5 to 10 years, you name it, is holding space for myself and giving myself grace and seeing what about me is never going to change, what about me needs to, what about me still needs work, and just kind of this radical acceptance. So I just try to extend that to everybody else in my life. Like, judgment free is a like cliche way of saying it, but like holding space for people no matter where they're at in their life, whether they're here for you or they're not, or they're kind of going through it or they're not, or they see themselves or they don't, like being that for other people. And like, to your point, people who have done that kind of work, you know it immediately because you're like, oh, we're on the same wavelength here. Yeah.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Well,
Very beautiful.
thank you so much for being here, for sharing yourself.
I wish I brought props.
I know
Now
we're gonna
we
get
know.
we're gonna get props.
We are.
We're gonna have more seasons, and you're definitely gonna come back. But first, talk to your camera, Britt, and tell them where they can find you, and just
In hell.
Another abortion.
You with this? No, I'm kidding. I'm on tour. I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm mostly not in South Florida nowadays. Just follow me.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm gonna have
Brittany Brave.
my own podcast will be out by now. Big yikes. It's
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
It's about just it's taking very cool people and powerful people and having them share their big yikes moment, like a moment where they like fell on their face, fucked up, embarrassed themselves, just vulnerability. And that's it. And follow me on OnlyFans because a girl's got to pay rent. Okay.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
Brittany Brave on everything, right?
Yeah, Brittany Brave on Brittany Brave Comedy. Brittany Brave. Yeah,
Brittany Brave.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love you guys.
Love you. And that's been Grimm Gals. Thanks for watching. And we forget what our fucking thing is. All right.
forgot.
All right. That's been Grimm Gals Spice Edition. See you next time.
I'm just trying to claw my tonsils out.
We'll try it.
Sorry.
Nice.
I love it with you in the thing. I love it.
Excuse me.
Oh, this is going to be fun.